All of us hold unrealistic expectations. We have in mind what will or should happen in life, and we feel a certain amount of resentment, anxiety, and fear when things don't go as we expect them to, whether it be the results of a virus, an election, or in a relationship, or for ourselves. According to Dr. Miranda Morris, a clinical psychologist in Bethesda, Maryland, the biggest unrealistic expectation is that people shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. She says, I guess unrealistic expectations are part of the human experience. But unrealistic expectations are not healthy because none of us can control every situation in life. When our expectations of ourselves go unmet, we set ourselves up for burnout or guilt and shame. When others fail to meet our unrealistic expectations, we may experience disappointment, resentment, anger, and fear. I know my own unrealistic expectations have tripped me up time and time again. Is that true for you? Hi, I'm Tonya Arnesen, Senior Pastor of First United Methodist Church in Jackson, Michigan, and this is Food for Thought for Friday, March 12th, 2021. During this season of Lent, I'm encouraging us to give up some of the unhelpful and unhealthy attitudes and behaviors we tend to hold on to so that we can take up or receive those things that are more life-giving to us and enable us to be more effective in our service to Christ. This week, we'll be looking at how unrealistic expectations can chip away at our relationships, can shut down our goals, and even steer our lives in an unhealthy direction. According to Dr. Selena C. Snow, a clinical psychologist in Rockville, Maryland, unrealistic expectations are potentially damaging because they set us and others up for failure. When we or someone else naturally falls short, and we all do, we draw false conclusions. We feel negative feelings and act in negative ways, she said. Snow shared this example. You hold the unrealistic expectation that I should be perfect in school. Inevitably, since it's perfectly impossible to be perfect, you fail at being perfect. You conclude then that you're stupid or you're incompetent, so you feel depressed about what that means for your entire life moving forward, and you avoid applying to further education. Or, she says, you may hold the unrealistic expectation that if my marriage were good, then this would be easy. When you experience problems, then, you assume your relationship is hopeless and you avoid working on your issues or seeking professional help. As a result, your relationship continues to deteriorate and maybe even ends. The truth is, all relationships are difficult and they require effort and thoughtfulness and compromise, even when things are going well. Here's a few other examples of unrealistic expectations. See if any of these fit your experience. It's not okay to be depressed or anxious. Really? It's not okay to have painful feelings and thoughts. Really? It's not an I have to have control or I need to know what's always going to happen to me. Really? Unrealistic expectations are rigid. They don't leave any room for changing circumstances, changing directions. They don't leave room for flexibility and innovation, which provide creativity and excitement in our lives. Unrealistic expectations are heavy on shoulds, like, my spouse ought to know how I'm feeling without my having to tell them. Or my kids should always listen to me and take my advice. Well, that's unrealistic, isn't it? And unrealistic expectations can interfere with our ability to pursue what matters to us the most. For instance, if you expect that it's not okay to make mistakes, you're not very likely to take any risks. And if you don't take risks, it's really hard to stretch and grow and pursue things that you care about. This Sunday, we're going to hear about Abram, a man in the Bible who is described as a friend of God. When God directed Abram to leave his home and set out on a journey to the Promised Land, Abram had to let go of his preconceived notions about how his life was going to turn out. He had to let go of his need to be in control of everything all the time. He even had to let go of his expectations of what was going to happen on the journey. Abram decided to let go and let God. Abram decided to move forward in confidence and faith that God would be with him on the journey and that God would lead the way and make good things happen in his life. If you're unfamiliar with this story, you can read it on the link that I've provided with this post. My friends, as we continue to face so many unknowns and uncertainties that are beyond our control, COVID as a pandemic, a seismic change in political and cultural shifts, unrest in our denomination if you're part of the United Methodist Church around the world, perhaps Abram's example is just what we need to look at these days. Can we let go of our unrealistic expectations and take up faith and confidence that God will lead us, that God will be with us, that God is working all along the way of our life's journey? I hope you'll join us virtually or in person at 10:30 a.m. this Sunday. Don't forget to set your clocks ahead by 1 hour on Saturday night, as we will all be shifting to daylight savings time this weekend. In the meantime, be blessed, be well, and know you are a beloved child of God. Amen.